do a very good job, Steve. That's how I do that.
Okay.
Okay, this is live now.
I hate shaving. Someone shaved for me. Bruce, did you get in?
Yeah. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, we're good? Okay, if we all want to rise for the Pledge of Allegiance, please. Flag's behind you. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, we don't have any visitors that want to speak, so Tom, need a roll call?
Mr. Terry? Here. Whittlesey? Gump? Here. Fletcher? Here. Jones?
Here.
Meeting is called to order. Under President's report, just want to remind everybody to get your ballots, your top three choices to, if you don't have them tonight, give them to Peggy, hopefully tomorrow. It's for we have a board award, we give out at graduation every year, so we vote anonymously for that and give a award to the kids.
She needed a couple week notice to award the plaque.
Yeah, so as soon as, oh yeah, and also if you haven't given Todd your $50 for that award, give Todd money.
Take out the one that looks like you're going to check.
Yeah, don't make that for Todd. Don't make that for Todd. Make that the word legals. So yeah, if you can do that by, especially the ballots by tomorrow, but get the money in time, hopefully as soon as possible. Okay. Can I have a motion to recess into executive session to discuss employment? And that's it.
Make the motion.
Second? Second. Ian, any questions or comments? Roll call?
Mr. Terry? Yes. Whittlesey?
Yes.
Gump?
Yes.
Fletcher? Yes. Jones?
Yes.
Okay, motion passes. We're just going to go in, we have to do something real quick, and then we will be back out, so feel free to walk around, and we'll let you know when we're back.
We're going to leave the recording going here too, just as an FYI.
Yeah, don't badmouth us while we're here.
Just in case you decide you was gonna go up in the moon it or something.
That's right.
They lost.
Why they figured they were just gonna take all the Well, they got it all rigged into it. Then down here. Oh, yeah. No, they down her well. They down with me. Well, it's baby. So we there's like some problems. The water line is 900 something. The house. Well, a lot of people don't know about I told, well, I can say, I told him in one meeting, Well, you could still say, call me for. You usually put the name in there, call that. Oh, yeah, it shows you where it's at. You got new box pieces. Box pieces, right on. And I use it, but it's this little button right there. Put in there, stay, because it's not right there, there's all kinds of information. You need to know that button. Put in there, bottom, side, what is it? I'm always. You good there? Brought that. Right? Right, that I had reserves with the manufacturer of the price of the apples and the blue roll out. Almost here. It is. That's all seven, right? Yeah. That's, this new phone right in my head. That's why he comes in. Really, you do have cable, Time Warner, so you make a phone call without the cable line, and eventually goes back to where it is. I think it keeps it up to a seven. Well, right, as I was saying, out the last side, we're doing down. You make a phone call. Does the same thing. It brings the satellite, they bring into that through the last side. She said it was cutting them out when that didn't mean it was mine. I did this one day where I was yeah, it's hard. It wouldn't work on mine. I think I took that thing back and got so many data for the white first time together. Phone number. I tie it, it comes in on that block. There's a little water tied in here. It goes through all the phones. I try to put it downstairs. Any phone. But, well, there's so many. I ended up getting rid of my cable on my TV. I had the old existing 10 row. But we can't go away in 10 row. About a week and a half, I finally got to the doing something. That was all my TVs and all. I get 3, 5, and 8, 17. All the 17, 25, 43, 55. You're watching those, it's old, it's very vibrant. So, but yeah, it comes in different. That's all. Because you get that thing, oh, different, it's an eager, but complete. Show me where it is. So if you're online, they'll show you where that panel is. I bought a brand new antenna for the TV that goes up there. I finally got that one working. Hooked up my old one. We brought that one, so I took the good shaft and back. And now you can get them streamlined, they're only about this long. And then got the clip on about that long. I got one with a long line. Summertime, I do not. That We'll be right out. I don't know, I think that. What do you need?
Yeah. Go ahead.
You're not gonna get your story now.
I know.
Deadline.
I already gave it up.
What's your deadline? You do it all different.
I'll get it to you. I already got it. Just ready for them to do it. Well, they didn't say time, they said it'll be 3. Maybe that means it'll be under an hour. The last one they had. Oh, yeah.
So what's up, you got to keep it. We're all making for that, help us with that. Not going to know about.
I don't know how you guys did, but I won $50.
All right.
A little bit of blackjack.
Follow that, okay? We'll be right back. We'll leave.
You guys go out and get a few friends. We got more people than we went in. Okay, no, I have, well, what clock we want to go? 8:05? We'll reconvene at 8:05 and go right into superintendent.
Okay, a couple quick updates, then we'll get into some presentations here. First, we continue to meet with our district safety committee to put into place the ALICE procedure for intruders. A couple words about that. Our next meeting is next Wednesday, May 16th. We are close to being done. We have had involvement now from both fire departments. The chiefs from both Atwater and Randolph have joined us, as have other employees from there. And we are moving forward with putting in place this buzzing system at our front doors. So next school year, our plan would be that all of our doors are locked, and there'll be one entrance at the middle of elementary where they can be buzzed in, where they can be viewed from the office, and the same up here at the high school. We have one minor thing that has to be done at the elementary to give that secretary access to that, and we're working on that right now. We are going to be hosting the county extended school year program for special education students here this year. Typically for Southern Portage County, that's at Southeast. Southeast is undergoing some construction this summer. So we'll be hosting that. That's running July 9th through August 3rd. We do have students that qualify for that program, so it'll save us a little bit on busing them too. We'll just have to bring them to here. That it runs Monday through Friday, 8:30 to 11:30. And that we actually get a little bit of money for doing this too. They give us $600 per room. So we're arranging our summer cleaning schedule around that section of the building. We have some items that are up for disposal. Those are items that you've board approved to get rid of here in the past in the appropriate way. If you're interested in that, we have on our district homepage, right when you first go there, you'll see a link you can click. There's a list. May 23rd is when the sealed bids have to be in by, and it's the winning bidder is the person who has the highest sealed bid. There's a military press bench, a chest press machine, combo preacher curl tricep extension station, a T-bar machine, pec deck, a 6-foot lawn roller, and then approximately 710 2-foot by 2-foot pavers, which used to be here at the entranceway before we did the concrete last summer. Now we're going to turn it over to our technology coordinators here, Peter Negron and Matt Dockery. They're going to present on a system that they're in the process of installing here now for next school year, which will make our campus a wireless campus in all areas. Just want to note here before they start, we have our funding issues. How do we make something like this happen? This is a project that falls underneath the permanent improvement, the 0.5 mil portion of this building project. That's money that's designated for projects that have a lifespan of 5 years or more. So the money that it's costing us to do this is coming out of that account. It's nothing that's being taken out of our general operating fund that could help offset our deficit. So without further ado, I'm going to turn it over here to Peter and Matt.
Good evening. I'm Matt. In the fall, we began researching different wireless systems. We talked with the technology committee, and we determined that a good way for us to go would be to start to bring wireless. And what wireless is going to basically do is provide the infrastructure, the base for what we want to do in the future. If we want to bring in laptops, have students bring in laptops. If we want to turn to iPads, anything wireless, we needed to have that infrastructure to be able to support it. So we started doing some research in the fall and winter. We talked with other school districts. We went and saw a presentation at Spark with different vendors, and we were able to try out the Meraki system in, I believe it was February, or beginning of March. Check out the Meraki system, 3 access points for free. Once we got signed up and we saw how easy it was to use this, we really liked it, very simplistic, and the controls that we were able to do with the system was very simple. We did some more research on how we would set this up, and we found that we were going to be able to do the work ourselves, pulling back wire in the building from different ports that were not being used and hooking up the wireless systems ourselves. So all it basically involved was installing one of these, here's the wireless, and putting a power injector, power over Ethernet injector, to be able to power the unit. We put those inside our closets. We've actually got one in the media center here. It's up here in the corner. They blend in really well with the tile and seem to stay pretty hidden. Once we got board approval for this project, we started pulling back wire. And that's usually the hardest part because we're up in the ceiling working. Pulled back in various locations, mapped out and configured where we would need these access points to get full coverage in the areas. And once we had that and we ordered that, we started installing the access points. We have now completed the entire high school with the access points, as well as we just finished up the middle school today. Now there will be some testing involved, learning about the different configurations and what will work best. We still have to do the cafetorium and elementary school, and we hope to complete that within the next few weeks. Now I'm going to turn it over to Pete, and he's going to discuss a little bit about the specifics of the Meraki system.
After we were, after we installed most of our access points, we went back into the system and started inputting them into the management system. The management system for Meraki allows us to do multiple things. It allows us to see what type of traffic is going on in our system. It also allows us to limit it to certain groups or users. And it also allows us to package it. What that means is we can say, okay, we don't want everybody using YouTube on our wireless network. We want them to just use Google Apps. So we're allowed to go through and segregate those types of traffic and give priority to the bandwidth that we want to use. As you can see up on the screen, we have a picture of our school. It shows the location of the access points and the amount of users that have been on those access points over the last couple of hours. This is a snapshot of today. For the whole day, as you can see, in one day we'll have a couple hundred users, whether it's cell phones, iPads, or laptops themselves. One of the reasons why we put the system throughout the district is because we're looking at the bring your own technology as being an option for us down the road, as well as being able to support any initiative that's going to have us do online testing for state mandated tests. So we want to have that infrastructure in place. Because currently, if you go into our classrooms, we only have 6 or 7 drops. With this system, we can have a classroom of over 30 or 40 students with laptops be able to take a test on that one access point. So it allows us to expand our network in a way that we wouldn't have thought of 10 years ago. We did the summary reports, allows us to see what type of traffic's out there. Takes a little while. So we can see who our users are, where they're being used. systems, top types of manufacturing devices. So we can see basically what we have in the district and who's using it and what they're using it on. So if let's say we're looking down the road to maybe expand our technology as far as hardware is concerned, we might look at this and say, well, iPads might be an option for us, or Kindle Fires, or maybe even just letting students bring their own. So it gives us a lot of information. Like I said, it allows us to go ahead and shape our network usage as well. There's a lot of ins and outs of this, and I don't think we need to go into those, but it does make it easier for us to manage a system, and it's a lot safer. For instance, if you bring a laptop in and you log into our network, it's going to require you to have a certain level of antivirus software and plugins, so you don't come in with a rogue virus and go ahead and infect our network. So there's some security protocols in there. We can do what's called a walled garden and segregate the general public from our network so that they can access it maybe during a football game or something like that, get the weather report, whatever, but not threaten our own network. So it does give us a lot of flexibility. Like I said, there's a lot to it, and I know we've already been here for a little while. So if you're interested, if you have any questions, you can always call us up or email us, and we'll be more than willing to go into detail about this system.
Yeah, as we looked at this stuff, and we struggle financially to have the ability to purchase a lot of technology items to allow our kids to use. And I think we have to believe that, the teacher is still the most important thing. But being able to have technology tools available to integrate in with what they're doing is such a great assistance in many cases. So as we see and read a lot of different things, we hear about how many large percentages of kids that have devices that could be brought in here and we could do things. Like last year, if you remember, we talked at this time about purchasing clicker systems where students could respond in the classroom, teachers get instant feedback. There's free versions of that out there that kids can use cell phones on, that teachers can get that same information. So to have a system in place as we look to expand in that direction, the first thing that we have to have is the infrastructure, like Matt said, to be able to support it. The other thing that's coming down the road that the state's putting in place is, I think it's year 2013, 14, I believe, is when the state testing will all be done online, or maybe it's 2014, 2015. So they're talking how our district's going to be able to do that. They're saying they're going to utilize student personal devices. So yeah, I think this helps us as a district grow with where we want to go technology related. This is definitely the first step that we need to take to be prepared for what's coming up. And then this will give our teachers that are really interested in this kind of thing the ability to allow students to utilize what they have in the classroom. So, I appreciate the work of these guys. They did all the research with this, found a good system for us that put some safe checks in place, which we were worried about with the technology committee. And they're working hard, as you heard them say, to install all this stuff. So, you guys have questions though for them before they go?
Is it just an Ethernet connection to each one of the?
Yeah, and what we have to do is do the power with the Ethernet injector, basically. And in the closet, from the connection, we bring it in, it has power, it sends the power then to the system, so it doesn't have to use any power in the ceiling or anything, the power goes directly to it.
So you have to run, for each one of those, you have to run a cable from this switch in this room back to wherever that's located.
Well, the wiring is already there.
Okay.
It's already existing, so we basically just have to backtrack, find the label of the port. They have it coincided, figure it out, and then replace it with this.
The other thing that goes along with that is each one of these access points are kind of anonymous. They form a cloud inside of our district. So when a student comes into the high school, they see high school wireless. They don't see access point 1 or 2 or 3. So this is a lot, very similar to if you were going to a hotel and getting wireless in a hotel. It's the same type of system that you would see in there. And it allows us to put different types of restrictions on each part of our network. So the middle school has a little bit different restriction than the high school does. But when you go through, you go from access point to access point, you hop over and it's almost seamless. You won't know that you're going off one and going to the next one. So it's continuous coverage.
There's a password, but when it comes up with that,
Yes,
the
well-
Waterloo, schools.
What we,
and
what we,
everything.
what we have for our authentication is we go ahead and use our Active Directory to authenticate. So when a student comes in and logs on, they want to log on using their username and password that they use to log on any computer.
Any other questions for the guys?
Nice job.
Yeah, thank you.
Don't turn it on.
Okay, and then, yeah. They're gonna switch computers, right?
All right, okay, I thought you didn't want to turn it on.
So next up, I asked our principals, Nick Julia, the high school, Matt Montgomery from middle, and Tracy Early with the elementary, if they could come and just kind of give a brief overview of what's going on with your building schedules for students next year. I don't know if we want to start at the elementary, work our way up. Tracy?
Hi there, how are you?
Good there.
Good. All right, this schedule is a little different than what we have done previous years. The one thing that I wanted to talk to you about is that we have changed the number of teachers that we have at grade levels. We have decided to put more teachers down below in kindergarten and first grade in order to give them a better foundation so that when they're in the higher grades and there's 30 students in a classroom, they actually have those foundational skills still. That is one thing that is different this school year. The other thing that is different is that Mr. Julia and myself, we have worked it out that we can bring Chelsea Ritchie down to have art back in our building. And that was something that was very, very missed, and the children really loved that, and we are glad to bring that back. So we used to do a rotation schedule. This is not a rotation schedule. So you can see that every teacher has a specific special that they will go to on a specific day. Whereas now we have 4 specials, we rotate those 4 specials on a rotation basis. So, here we go. Brief. Any questions?
Excellent. Thank you, Tracy. Matt?
Okay, so what I did this year is I was looking very carefully to see if there's any ways that we could change the current middle school schedule to more of a traditional teaming model. Dr. Hill asked me to look at that at the start of the year. What I found was with attrition of Janice Ivanovich, we were struggling with the amount of staff that we had in the middle school. So there was some significant limitations of what we could do. We were trying to be creative. I was also very concerned about the fact that the teachers could only meet at the team level once a week for 30 minutes. And I wanted to try to find a way where they could meet more frequently so they could do some team planning, some collaboration. So we met with a gentleman by the name of Dr. Reddick. He's supposed to be this schedule guru, and we took a team of teachers. And what he came up with, or what he determined, was that our current schedule, he said, is being held together by study halls, which meant that many students were going to more than one study hall throughout the day, and we were losing instructional time. So what he suggested was to go to a partial block system. And what this means is that we're going to block language arts and math next year. Language arts and reading are currently taught separately, so each 40 minutes apiece. He said that if you're losing a teacher and not replacing them, you could combine language arts and reading together and just make it language arts by itself.
We could do that one of two ways. We could have done it just language arts, 40 minutes a day, and just combine those two classes together, and they just have to do double time. Or we could combine them and give them double time, where you would have 80 minutes. So you're not really losing any time when you're combining those two classes together. I thought that was more advantageous to the kids, to give them more instructional time in those areas. Additionally, he suggested that we give double time for math. Field Middle School is doing that, and they have had lots of success with it. They did it this year. We're going to observe them next week. We're taking a team of teachers. Science and social studies will not be blocked. They'll be the traditional 40-minute time frame. So we'll be blocking those 2 times. What that enables us to do outside of the more instructional time is it also enables me to do team time every day. So there will be common planning for those teachers 5 days a week where they can meet together and collaborate, which I think is very important at this level, so they can all be on the same page, see where the students' weaknesses are, the greatest needs, and meet the needs of the students on an individual basis. We were also able to do something called intervention time. So 30 minutes every day, students will be pulled out. You'll see that in the middle, I think it's in the blue or the pink right in the center. You'll see that each student will receive 30 minutes of intervention a day. One of the things we're working on is providing response to intervention. It's a way of analyzing the needs of the individual students and providing the support systems they need. This will be a time where they could move to the classrooms if they have questions, move to classrooms where they have missing assignments, they need extra support. So if I am struggling with 7th grade math and I've missed a couple days, I could go see Mr. Dreher during that time frame, and I could try to get caught up at that time. We're also going to use the 30-minute time, or the intervention time, for peer mediation we're going to try next year. They've done it in the past, we're bringing it back again. So we'll have students doing peer mediation, we'll have students getting individual instruction during that time, any remedial work, and hopefully some enrichment time also on a daily basis. So that was something that I was very happy that we could work out. There are some limitations that I want to make sure you are aware of, and the biggest one is class size. Class size is going to increase no matter what, but this is ensuring that they will be large in each grade level, which is going to have, we're going to have to pay the price. There's no perfect schedule. It doesn't have any limitations, but that's the caveat to this one. So hopefully what we're going to be able to do is, through the intervention time, give them the support they need, even though the class sizes are large. Through the individual or teacher planning time, do some thematic units to make sure that we are reaching the kids in new ways. So I'm hoping that we're going to be able to combat the limitation of the classes being a little bigger. Do you have any questions? Because this is completely different than what we're doing now.
That intervention time, if they don't go for help, where are they at instead?
Well, they're all going to be in a home room, so it's like you would go back to homeroom,
Okay.
and you can use that time as a study hall. I can, let's say I was a teacher for math, and I know that you were struggling, I could request your presence.
Oh, so it's
it
not
wouldn't-
just up to the kid?
No, it wouldn't
Oh,
be.
that's good.
There's
Okay.
less options than you would think. So if I say, I want you here, that's where you're going to be. Another thing is if I think you would benefit from peer mediation, that would be something that, that's where you're going to go to work on improving some drama that may be happening. So there'll be, and I think Mr. Hui is going to allude to this in his plan as well. So hopefully middle school and high school will both be giving the opportunity for students to have that enrichment time each day. So he'll be talking a little bit more about that in his presentation. What else do you have? Come on, Mr. Johnson.
I don't know, I'm impressed with what you guys are doing, because, we know that we have a situation, so instead of sitting around and complaining about it, we're thinking out of the box, we're being innovative in dealing with the cards that we have dealt, and I like what I see.
Thank you.
I'm not just saying that because I like you, No, it's just, we're gonna have bigger class sizes, so let's learn how to deal with it.
Right.
You
And
know.
I'm sure after the first year, we're going to have things that need to be improved upon or changed, and we're going to take that input and make those necessary adjustments. But
We're humans, we don't like change, but sometimes we have to be.
Right, and it's going to be a long time for the kids to sit there. So we're going to have to be creative. But I have a hard time arguing that more time for kids in math class to practice the concepts that they're learning is a bad thing.
Right.
Hopefully they will benefit from this.
I guess okay. We may be ahead of where we are now at that point. They're
That's
getting
true.
extra time and, you know, being forced to get that extra time.
Opportunity.
Okay. I'm a mother. Yeah, force them.
Any other questions?
No, that's wonderful.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
I question your color.
Nick,
Yeah, pink and blue.
I gave you guys a handout
Yeah.
before you came, so you guys can look at that. For the high school, how did we end up here? I guess it started actually last year when we had a lady come in from Summit County and talk to our staff about RTI, response to intervention, and that is really where it began again this year with Catherine Buchek, who spoke to our staff a couple times about RTI. And the big piece that we were missing was, okay, we know that we have to try to help these kids, well, how do we do it? And so we started looking around. We went to Ravenna High School where they have a similar type program that we're going to do now, also Southeast. And so we visited those two schools. We also went to listen to the scheduling guru with our staff and listen to him talk. But I think really when you know, kind of the rubber meets the road is when we met together as a group, myself and our team. And we kind of decided, okay, here, I said to him, what do we want to do? So we sat down and we talked about it after we'd heard all these other people, and we kind of decided on what we wanted to do. And this is our proposal here then. We are going to call team period, and the period will be called team, which stands for tutoring, enrichment, activity, and mentoring. And why are we doing this? We're doing it because we can tutor more students in the classroom and not take away from class time. This will give opportunity to target at-risk students who could use the extra help. It gives our students who have not passed the OGT time to work on practice tests and questions in the computer lab. It gives some of our students an ACT prep class, which Debbie Morgan can teach, prior to taking the test. It gives us time to have meetings with students for a variety of things and not take away from class time. It also gives our staff a chance to do some enrichment activities with students that they would not have time to do. So there's a lot of variety that we can do with this. And how will we measure success? Obviously, we hope there's more achievement and a decrease in student failures and an improvement in our test scores in the OGT and the ACT. If you look at the back side here, these are our three schedules. We're going to have a regular schedule like we have now on Monday, Tuesday, and Friday. And then on Wednesdays and Thursdays, twice a week, we'll have tea time. And we shaved off about 4 minutes from each period. So each period is about 36 minutes long. But we don't have any homeroom then. So we gave ourselves some extra minutes there. And so our team periods, it actually is almost like a 9-period day, basically, with team period in the middle. And that's the time where we will be able to do those activities. And that's our schedule. So I'd like to thank Andy for giving us the opportunity to do these things too, because he kind of really encourages us, I think, to think outside the box and things that we can do with our staff. So I appreciate him helping us, especially when we have to come up with working together, because a lot of times our minutes and times don't jive together, and we have to share people. And we kind of sit together and just come up with the answer, and that's our job. So, questions?
If they're not going to homeroom on Wednesdays and Thursdays, then how do we know if they're here, if they're tardy, those teachers have to?
So they just do it first period.
So will they be doing it the other days, or will they always just do it first period?
On those 2 days, attendance will be taken just first period.
Okay,
Yeah.
so it'll be switched.
Yeah.
Are we having the ACT prep class?
Yes.
So we're able to get that together?
Yes. Yeah.
During the fall.
Yeah. Debbie Morgan's going to be teaching that during that time.
It is going to be during that team period?
Yes.
And that's gonna-
Yeah.
she's, if I'm not mistaken, she's finalizing what the curriculum will be like. It's going to be a non-graded, 9-grade class, but it may even be able to be something she could run multiple times a year,
Right.
leading up to the different times the ACTs offer.
So it's not something they have to sign up for, or it is something they have to sign up for?
Yeah, they have to sign up for it. Yeah.
Okay.
But they have not been given the opportunity
No,
yet to do that.
Okay. And then the OGT practice, will that be just for the 10th graders? That would be for
No,
the
that'll
9th
be for the
graders?
kids that haven't passed it.
So it's after they haven't passed it in 10th
Right,
grade?
yeah,
And
the
so it'd be
kids that
more
need
for
that.
your juniors and your seniors?
Right, yeah,
Okay.
the ones that need to still pass it. Our teachers, work on OGT stuff all throughout the year.
Mental note, who can remind me if I forget to send you some ACT stuff I have?
Okay.
Are we out gonna, with all the extra enrichment time, are we looking at assignments or additional work for students that keep it from that time from becoming a study hall for the students that don't need the help?
The enrichment that we're going to do, and, I got this again from other schools, where they can actually do different activities with the teachers. The way we're going to do it at the high school is a student can't do an enrichment activity unless they're passing all their classes and they have no zeros. So the teachers are going to have to check their classes and their grades. But if the teacher wants to say, like, have a poetry club, and the kids would like to go to that, that would be like an example of an enrichment activity, or a book club, that kind of thing. There's lots of different things that you can do. We have one teacher that wants to teach a yoga class. That kind of thing, yeah.
So both of these, ACT prep and OGT practice, both of those are more for juniors and seniors. Are there, right? I mean, for the most part, they're more for juniors and seniors. Because OGT would be who didn't pass, so that would
Right.
be juniors and seniors.
Yeah.
And ACT, usually sophomores don't take that, usually it's juniors or seniors. So is there anything that we can do that anyone suggested from the other schools for freshmen or sophomores?
Well, a lot of that's going to be just with the tutoring.
Okay.
The kids, especially our freshmen, they need extra help. So it's going to be the same way, like Matt said, they're not going to have a choice. They're going to be sent to you, if say you're the math teacher and the student's having problems with math. So a lot of what the 9th and 10th grade will be tutoring.
Yeah, the other thing we should mention here too, Nick made a change last year, and then this year they followed up on it again, where we made that revision on how, when students come during OGT testing week in March. But the freshmen are coming in, and they're taking a practice OGT test, which was new last year. And then those get graded, and that feedback is used by
Right.
teachers in the classroom.
Yes.
So there is some stuff that's already
Right.
in
Yeah,
that
we can-
regard.
Right, okay.
Yeah, we'll have some data that we can look at. We had that this year.
Okay.
Forgot about that. Hard to remember everything.
I'm just getting ready for the ACTs, that is so
Right.
important.
Yes.
Yeah, they had something in the high school newsletter, the last one that went out. Part of what we now have access to through being part of dual credit with Youngstown State for next year for calculus is, I think as long as we have students that are willing to use it in an appropriate manner, it's unlimited. We have access to an ACT online prep program that kids can get. And so that was in the high school newsletter, the last one that went out a few weeks ago. And Debbie Morgan told me today that so far no one's requested to get access to that program. But that, I'm sure, will be something that Debbie will use to supplement what she's doing with the program, and hopefully expand how it gets to them. That was kind of a freebie we tossed in with all this other stuff through a grant in Youngstown State now.
Everything we can do for the ACT is just so huge. I mean, because so much of the financial aid in grants and scholarships are right off there. I have a nephew that he got a 26, he took it the second time, he got a 27, and he was getting little scholarship offers. He hit a magic number of 28 on his ACT. He got a 4-year free ride to tuition. So, I mean, there's
the thing is,
It's a real dollar.
and this, Mr. Schmidt would come in and tell you too, that the biggest thing for kids to improve on the ACT is to take the tough classes. The tougher the classes you take, the better that you're going to do on that test. Having a class and doing those things is great, but the you know, the tougher classes, you know, we really encourage our kids all the time to do those things because they will be better on the ACT test.
That was another suggestion I was gonna have too, was, I know, okay, if they've already taken the ACT and they're doing good on it, for the juniors and seniors, and they're already taking the OGT and they passed it, and if they don't wanna do poems or yoga or whatever, if Cliff knows that they're going, like, if there's some kind of something they could do that they know they're going to college, maybe they could do something like that in the fall, because I know he starts in January with FAFSA and all that kind of stuff. But maybe that would be a good time to
Well-
sit down with them, because
Well, that's the
you can
thing,
start
we've already
applying for
talked about that.
scholarships.
See, this is another
in the
good
fall.
time
That would be a
again,
good
it
time
doesn't
for that.
take away from class time.
Right.
And he could
That would
bring
be another
in
good
colleges and universities to talk to the kids.
Right.
And, you know, we've already talked about that.
Okay,
Yeah.
good. See, you're ahead of me.
Trying
That would certainly help, because I'll tell you what, my son is the laziest person, and I hope this is recorded, because I want him to hear this. Okay, good. You know,
Unless somebody messed with it.
You want to stay in the camera?
yeah, well, I mean, it's just, when we've been looking at private colleges, and of course with the state colleges, the ACT, or the requirements are a little bit less, but Ohio Northern, Mount Union, Baldwin Wallace, you gotta have a 25 for them to even look at you, to give you a opinion. You know, and most of the kids that I have talked to that have really high GPAs, some of them are really bad test takers, and their ACTs are terrible. So hopefully that class,
It should help.
what won't only teach them content,
Right.
but on how to take that
Right.
test. You know, that it's going to make a big difference, and help them find scholarships. That was my point about why my son's so lazy. I've had to threaten him for the last 6 months, get on there and fill out those scholarships, and it's hard to find. They're very hard to find.
Colleges are expensive.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Any other questions for me?
Thank you.
Yeah, I want to thank all three of the
Yes.
principals, Tracy,
Yes.
Matt, and Nick. They put a lot of work in with, not only them, but with their building level teams of teachers that have been part of their process too. So I thank them and their staffs for working really hard on these things for next year.
It's nice that you guys are excited about it too. It's not like you're coming and say, yeah, we got to do this, so we're doing it. So you seem excited about it, so that's good too. So, thank you.
Let me get this moved up here again. Okay. So I got 3 different things here tonight that I want to take you through. The first 2 you'll find on the consent agenda. The first 2 represent work that has been done by our department chairs. Department chairs are teachers throughout the district, and our principals sit on that. I sit on that. This first one we've had discussion on over the last 2 years, and it really started as a discussion on weighted grades and whether or not to have that type of a system here. And it led to every time we had this, the end of the discussion always came back to valedictorian and salutatorian, and how we wanted to make sure that all of our students that graduated here, whether they were in classes that we think should be weighted, whether they are in regular classes that would be unweighted, or whether they're at Maplewood, that if they all worked their hardest in their program, they had the ability to qualify to be valedictorian or salutatorian. That seemed to be, to me, that seemed to be the wrong thing driving this. We just had this whole discussion on the ACT. You heard Nick talk about what Cliff has said and what Nick believes in. And I think what has been proven over time, which is the harder, the more challenging the classes are that students push themselves with, that's the best preparation they can get. Will these programs, these prep programs help? Sure. But their best bet to prepare is to take challenging coursework. And so over the last year, we've been trying to lay the foundation to bring more of that in here. And we've found ways to do that in a way where we haven't added really any overhead in doing it, and we've tapped into classes that are already here. Next year, we have dual credit classes that will be offered here through Youngstown State in calculus. through Stark State that's on the agenda tonight in our computer area with Mrs. Kane. Brenda Elias has been approved through Youngstown State to do French 4 as dual credit. You know, and there's a couple other possibilities that remain with Kent State University. So we've been able to tap into what's already there. And so as we started to think about this and we started to look, we started to think, well, what if we didn't have valedictorian and salutatory? You know, even though that's a tradition, what if that's an outdated tradition that really shouldn't be the driving factor with all of this? And so we started to have some conversation around that, looked at some different things, read some different things of what's kind of happening nationally. And what I'm presenting to you tonight is really the cumulative work of 2 years from our department chairs. And department chair minutes go out to all of the faculty and staff here on the campus, and they can give feedback to the department chairs to bring, they can email feedback directly to me, and a lot of them do. So what you see here tonight, really, everybody here has had an opportunity, if they chose to comment on and be part of the process. What we're suggesting to you tonight is that with the graduating class of 2016, which is next year's incoming freshmen coming in the fall, that we eliminate the designation of valedictorian and salutatorian, that we start to recognize students at graduation by designations of cum laude, magna cum laude, and summa cum laude. We eliminate class rank, and that we implement weighted classes and use the following grading scale at the high school. So for non-weighted classes, what we would do is use this system. You can see here the letter grade, the percentage that correlates to that, or corresponds to that, and then the GPA that would be assigned. So when we're calculating GPA, we would be using the weights to the right for non-weighted classes. Okay, which is this is a traditional 4-point scale. Okay. We're not changing the designations from 90 to 100 right now is currently an A. We had redone with the pluses and minuses last year, we just didn't attach the weights to them. On weighted classes, we would propose this scale. So basically what's happening is we're eliminating the minuses at each level. So a student has a little bit of room to make some mistakes in more challenging classes and not have that penalize their overall GPA. This system, though, unlike many weighted systems where they put weighted classes on a 5-point scale, and ultimately what colleges do then is they recalculate back to a 4-point scale what a student's GPA should be. This system would allow all of our students here to remain on a 4-point scale. So whether they're in the weighted track, whether they're in the regular classes here, whether they're at Maplewood, if they're working as hard as they can, they still have the ability to graduate with highest honors here. Okay, but this gives a little bit of incentive for the students who really should probably be taking some of these upper level classes to push themselves a little bit more without necessarily being penalized for that. Yeah, I will say last year when we were discussing this, Nick did a survey of the high school students, and 75% of them said that if there was some type of a weighted system, they believed that they would take more challenging classes. So what classes would we weight? As it stands right now, and I think this piece of this would be ever evolving as we maybe get into being able to offer other things and get more dual credit classes here. But we would see these classes where we would make weighted for that incoming class, graduating class of 16. So advanced math, AP calculus, AP art, and these are all current classes that we have. All the way down there through the dual credit classes, and we're still working on which ones of those are approved. We're continuing, like I mentioned here a few minutes ago, we now have a relationship formed with Youngstown State, Kent State, and Stark State. And we're continuing to try to offer more in those areas. These would be the levels. So a student with a 3.5 to 3.6 GPA when they graduate would be recognized cum laude at graduation, 3.7 to a 3.8 magna cum laude, and 3.9 to 4.0, the highest honors, the summa cum laude designation.
Can you back up
Yeah.
that slide? I'm assuming SUMA would go 3.81 to 4?
Wait,
You know what I'm saying?
3.9, I'm sorry.
Okay, you've got. Okay.
Yeah, state goes all the way up to the top, all the way up until 3.9. Anything below 3.9 would be
So
magna.
it's 3.7 through 3.899.
Yes, exactly. I'll clarify that on here before I put this online.
I just,
That's a good point.
it was just one of those, because you know there's a
Yeah,
lot of
that's
students that are
right.
going to be in that
Yes.
part. So they're going to.
All the way up until, so 3.6999,
Okay,
3.8999.
thank you.
Yeah, that's a good point. Graduation speaker, typically this has been the valedictorian and salutatorians. What we would do is allow students at the end of their first semester of their senior year who are on track to be part of graduate summa cum laude to be eligible. They'd have a certain date that they have to indicate their interest to speak to their class of senior class advisors. And then there would be a panel of Waterloo employees put together that would have different criteria that they would judge and ultimately pick who the speaker or speakers would be at graduation. And then the last part of this doesn't change. Students would still get an honors diploma if they've met the criteria defined by the state of Ohio. So that's clearly defined in the ORC, and we wouldn't obviously be making any changes to that. So that's being brought forth to you tonight here, and I think, you know, as we look at this and look at what, I guess, trends in the area, in our state, across the country are saying, I think more and more schools are moving away from valedictorian and salutatorian. I can tell you that from my time as a high school principal up in Toledo. There was a number of schools up there that moved away from it. I know personally from my experience at St. Francis that colleges told us we would not be penalizing kids if we took away class rank, that they would go back and use different factors to kind of create their own thing, but that would force them a little bit more to look at things. For example, the National Association for College Admission Counseling reports that half of all the high schools in the U.S. no longer report student rankings, and that causes colleges to look at other factors more closely. They look at GPA and college prep courses. They look at the rigor of the curriculum, which is the high school profile. They look at their SAT, ACT subject scores, their overall GPA, and then other factors like essays, letters of recommendation, class rank, if possible, resume, interview, and then different department requests from the college. So there's a lot of other factors that they'll use if we don't give a class rank. When you look at scholarships that are available for students that are valedictorian and salutatorian, those are diminishing as well. So I don't believe we're doing our students here a disservice by moving away from this, and I don't believe that this is change for change's sake. I think that what's being suggested here tonight is a change that we believe ultimately will help prepare a number of our students better for college, which ultimately is what we're trying to do, while at the same time keeping it equal grounds for all students here of all ability levels to be able to graduate in those different honor categories if they really work hard in the program they're in. So any questions on this? Any comments, concerns?
Well, I think you took everybody's thoughts from the last couple of years and brought it together in a way that we kept going back and forth on this, and I think this brings it together in a way that will work for everybody.
I want to thank the department chairs and principals in particular for all of their work on this. This is the result of numerous discussions and a lot of research, so thank them for their time. The other thing that's on tonight that in both of these, I should mention, a number of these things you're hearing tonight, the ACT prep class, this valedictorian, salutatory, weighted grades, service hours. If you go back and look at the plan that was put together here, our 5-year strategic plan based off of community feedback last year, that the board approved in June, these are items that are directly on there. You know, there's no surprise where we're working from when it comes to what we're doing as a district. This is all guided right off of our plan, down to the building level with their plans and what's happening there. One of the things that we heard loud and clear last year at our community forums was we need to get our students more involved in the community with service hours. And so another thing that our department chairs tackled this year was, well, what exactly does that look like? Should we set up a system where it's required? Should we set up a system where we give opportunities, push opportunities, promote opportunities, recognize students that do those? And so at the end of the day, we decided that we didn't feel that it was right to set up a system where we mandated to students, you have so many hours of service to do. But what we did want to do was do our best to help stress here as educators that we do have a responsibility as adults and students to give back to our community. This is a two-way street. You know, we want the community to support our schools. We need to make sure that our schools are supporting the community too. And so what our idea here is that we will work as a district, personnel here, to create lists of service opportunities as they are available with different organizations and other places within our district. We'll compile those lists, we'll make those lists available to students at both the high school and the middle school. Doesn't mean that a student can't do service at somewhere that's not on that list. They'll just have to talk to either their counselor at the middle school or class advisor at the high school to make sure that that's acceptable before they do it. But then what we'd like to do is to be able to recognize students that we believe stand out when it comes to their service in the community. So at the high school, we're suggesting that students who graduate with 100 hours or more of service at the end of 4 years should be recognized on their diploma with some type of a service award designation. Okay, we work on what that would actually look like, but it would be something that's indicated on their diploma. They'd also be recognized at the end of each year, at the end of the year honor ceremonies that they have at the high school level. At the middle school level, what they would do is strive to have students do 50 hours over the course of their 3 years in the middle school and recognize students in some way that achieve those 50 hours at the end of their 8th grade award ceremony. So it's our hope that by doing this, we'll be able to set up a system where we can get more of our students recognizing the importance of service, tying them back into the community. And it's worth noting, there's already numerous students that are doing that here. We have a teacher, Sandy Adams, who with her senior English class has them do service as part of that class. So there's pockets of this that are already happening. This isn't something brand new. This is just something where we're going to put an increased emphasis on this and try to get more of our students out there. So we brought that forward tonight too for your approval because of the designation at the graduation piece. We think that's something that needs to get your official approval and blessing to be able to do. Any questions on the service component?
No, I was just saying today that when we're looking at those board award applications, I'm looking at what they do in the community also, because I think that's something that, you know, we're trying to build character here as well as education. And I think if they're involved in their community, in their church, in their school, I think that is important. So that's something I look at when I look at those applications. So I think it's great.
Anything else? All right, then I want to move into the third portion of this, and Todd, feel free to jump in here at any point with any of this. So we currently, just do a quick review here. This has been shown numerous times. Okay, this is the current 5-year forecast that was board approved in September of 2011. Okay, we have to According to state law, we have to submit 2 forecasts a year. I think one is is it October? One's in October, so we did it in September. The other one has to be submitted in May. So there's a revised 5-year forecast on here tonight. But just so you can see where we currently stood, okay, we knew that we had the 380,000 showing as a deficit for next year, but we knew it was closer to 520 when we factored other things in we talked about before, retirements that were already built in, one that didn't happen, so that had to be added back, and then we need a little bit of a cushion. So we talked before about wanting to get to 520,000 cuts for the upcoming year. We've done that in numerous ways. We started with the pay to participate. We went through numerous discussions over the course of 3 months, and in March decided to triple the pay to play amounts for next year. When we did our factors of reductions of participants for next year that we're estimating, 33,319 of that 520 came from there. We went through last month and did reductions of personnel, and I want to stress that, you know, none of this stuff time-wise always works out the way that you want it to, but we have contractual and state deadlines we have to meet. When it comes to people and positions in the teaching world, on the certified side, our union contract says we have to notify the union 30 days prior to April 30th of our intent to reduce positions, and state law says we have to notify people by April 30th that they're going to have their position reduced for the following year. That's why these decisions had to be made back in March and acted upon in April last month. But this is what was approved last month. We will be reducing 2 positions through attrition from retirements, the music positions 6 through 12, the 6 resource room tutors, and if you remember, we talked last month that is federal money, Title 6B, that cannot be used to offset anything besides special ed expenses that are above and beyond what we're required to do by law. We can't transfer that money and use it to help offset our general operating deficit. So if you remember last month, and the plan still is, we're going to replace those 6 tutors with 3 full-time teachers because we want to make some changes in the way the program is being operated in special education. But for our financial picture with the forecast, that's really a wash. That has nothing to do with the 5-year forecast. These 8 Title I tutors, though, directly relate to the forecast because if you remember last month, we talked about because of our financial need showing for next year, we were able to, in the fact that the elementary is going into school-wide status, that we were able to use that money to bring back 2 of the teachers that we reduced last month, which meant we would have less tutors for next year. And then the 1 elementary middle school media center aide. Okay, so when we did the summary, that target was 520. We talked about budgets and supplies reducing by 50. We also were able to finalize at that special board meeting we held last month, the final contract from all of our unions. And when we take into account what our unions in the districts did and non-union employees, what they were able to help us with off of that deficit was $215,000. That comes off of last year where they helped us with, I think it was over $300,000. Okay, so $1.5 million over 2 years we've had a cut, and 1/3 of that has come because our district's employees were willing to work and help save for kids what was needed. And then the rest of it was the personnel and programming. So I already mentioned that we have to do this new forecast. So where we stand now changes a little bit. Okay, we've always said that absent something that we're not expecting, here's where we stand. And when you deal with the state and you deal with other things that are really out of your control, you never know what to expect. Okay, we got a good surprise here at the end of April that we were not expecting. Okay, which changes things some, but it doesn't change our overall problem. Okay, and I'll explain that here. But at the end of April, we received confirmation that there was going to be an unexpected reduction in our medical and prescription insurance rates for next school year due to 3 different factors. Okay, one is that an insurance plan change that our employees made last year reduced our rates for the current year, and it continues to reduce those for future years. Secondly, the consortium had a very good year financially, collectively as a group. And third, the consultant that was working on these rates for us was able to get the consortium trustees to agree to do a tiered approach this year based off of basically how healthy our district has been, is what they went by. And so Waterloo benefited greatly from the tiered approach, as opposed to the consortium itself has always been set up in the 30 years of its existence as a one-for-all, all-for-one type consortium where there's usually a uniform rate increase and everybody gets it equally, the 20 districts that are part of it. So last year, so spring of 2011, the consultant, there had been some changes. The person that had used to set rates for the consortium had left the company that she worked for. She was not able to provide how those were set. There was no history from what she had done with how those were set. So the consortium had brought in a new consultant that had done some other work with the consortium in the past, but not with rates. And he came to the trustees a year ago. Trustees are the superintendents of these districts that are part of the consortium. And he suggested last year that 2 different things. He came with 2 different approaches. One was the all-for-one, one-for-all. He suggested a 24.75% increase. Said that's what was needed to keep the consortium at their current rate from dipping into spending money they shouldn't be spending. The other one was a tiered approach where some districts would have been as low as 0% and others as high as 50%. Now, we would have been somewhere on the lower end of that, but not anywhere near 0. So the trustees of the consortium, as they've done numerous years from what I understand, last year was my first experience, they went against his advice and they ended up setting the rates at a 16% increase. They felt that we should tap into some of this other money that the consultant thought that we shouldn't, that he thinks we need to have there to protect the consortium for claims that may go over. I voted against it, as did 2 other districts, because I didn't want to get hit with a mid-year increase this past year that we weren't expecting. And they had made it known, part of the discussion before that vote took place was that that was a very real reality. So when we sat down and did these projections in the forecast, we have put in 24% for the rate increase this year because of off of the advice from last year. And then 16%, which is where we had been this past year for the other 4 years of the 5-year forecast. Well, this year, because of these factors, we actually went from 24% we projected down to 1.3, which is incredible. I mean, that's really, really good for us. The consultant has also suggested, and Todd has put this into the forecast, that next year a 10% increase is a fair number to budget. And the year after, when the new health care laws kick in, 12%. And then he said after that, he doesn't know what else to put in. It'll probably be higher. So for our forecasting purposes, the new forecast that you have tonight has 1.3%, which is locked in as of the end of April for next year, then 10%, then 12, then 16 and 16. Okay. When we do that, though, that changes, that coupled with the reductions that we already knew we were doing, changes things pretty significantly when it comes to our forecast. So where you can see that last year, on September's forecast, we were projecting the $380,000 deficit. Now we're at 164 positive, but I want to make a note here, okay? Our target the whole time had been to be at $100,000 positive after we did all of these reductions. So in all reality, we have not changed much for this coming up year from where we thought we could be, where we would be. But as we progress here, you can see the compounding effect of these percentages and the change that they do in the forecast. So we went from next year, fiscal year 14, looking to have to cut 1.7 million almost. Now we're down below 600,000, was at about $598,000. And so it's changed by about, you can see here, 5.6 in fiscal year 16, we're down to $3.1 million. So we're better than we were. We're better than we expected to be. But our problem is not gone. We can't all breathe a sigh of relief and say it's good, when financially we're good for a number of years, let's leave things alone. We can't do that. Okay, but I think this does then lead, though, to us to have to discuss some decisions that are here, because when some decisions were made, they were made on a different set of numbers. And so there's a couple of things that are going to have to happen here tonight. One, for sure, is built into this forecast here. We know that 164 bottom line includes us having those 2 teachers that we thought we were going to pay with title funds paid out of the general fund, and also recalling our music position, the 6 through 12. That's already built in here. And that's built in here because what we've said all along, and what you've supported as we've been out there saying it in the community and to our unions as we've gone through negotiations, is we're going to keep as much as we can for these kids for as long as we can, and we're taking this stuff 1 year at a time. So we are not permitted anymore, because of the balance we're showing for fiscal year 13, to utilize Title I funds the way we thought we were. We had to clearly show that absent use of title funds, those people would not have a job. We can no longer do that. Okay, with the music position, that's something that when we recall, that we'll add more programming back for our students, keep it where it was this year. Actually, we'll bring back some dual credit classes, as a matter of fact. Hopefully choir at the middle school level. Okay, the other thing here is that I think we need to have some discussion on. There's 2. One is the levy request. Okay, when we made a decision, when we recommended and you made a decision in March to put 7.95 mils on in August at the special election, that was done based off of this top forecast where we were looking at a deficit next year that we in no way, shape, or form could cut and be above state minimums. Okay, now things have changed, and I think there needs to be some discussion. The need hasn't gone away, but I think what may be the more prudent approach for us to take at this point would be, because it's a special election in August, and because our numbers have changed, I think it may be a better decision for us to remove it from August and to reassess once the fiscal year closes out where our numbers actually end up, and then take a look at those and base how far out we want to get and what that millage amount can be. I think we all saw that as we went from 5 mils to 7.95 last time, our gap of no's to yeses widened. And so if we're able to look at it and for a similar period of time come back with a smaller millage amount in November, I think that may be a better approach for us. But this is tricky, because we have to make sure that we're communicating clearly that we still have a need. Our need has not gone away. If we take this off in August, it's not because all of a sudden we don't need additional funding. It's because things have changed and we need to step back and evaluate where we are and how to proceed in November. But I don't think there can be any question in our minds that we have to proceed in November. The other thing that may or may not need discussion tonight, that this was based off of these projections too, if I can get back here, is these pay to participate numbers. Okay, we decided to increase them 3 times their current level. Okay, we saw that that's generating an additional $33,000. That money is still currently budgeted in with this forecast that you have in front of you tonight. Okay, but I think we need to go back and have some discussion when it comes to that potentially. Maybe not. Maybe you want to just leave it where it's at. The other thing I want to note here, again, is that the timing of how all of these things work, unfortunately, don't all coincide the way you would like them. It would have been very nice to have all of this stuff done before we had to even talk about personnel, programming, other things that would have to be cut. Because you always run the danger that people think that I'm the little boy crying wolf when it comes to all of these things. But if you take a look at what we have done over the last 2 years, I just want to read this to you here quickly. Okay, just in case anybody's confused and thinks that there hasn't actually been action to eliminate this stuff. We've combined 2 bus runs into 1. We've implemented pay to participate. We've eliminated the storage unit, alliance, wireless cards, district cell phones. We've gone from a full-time treasurer assistant position to a part-time. For 2 years in a row here, there's been base, step freezes by all district employees and major insurance plan changes. And those have directly related, or those directly have kept in place at least 6, maybe 7 or 8 positions that ultimately have left programs here for the kids. And nothing we're talking about tonight changes any of that. We've cut our full-time supervisor of transportation, building and grounds to a part-time supervisor of transportation. We've leased space in our building for a preschool unit from the county. We've reallocated over $84,000 in building budgets back into the general operating fund. We've applied for and have started to receive Medicaid reimbursement for certain special education students. We've created our Viking Digital Academy, which currently I think has about 24 students in there. Those 24 students are helping us keep, not only is it a quality program, I don't want to get this confused, if it's not quality, we shouldn't do it. It's a good program, we're working through some bumps in the road with it, but ultimately, the quality of the program is sound as far as I'm concerned. But with each of those kids, we keep their $5,723, and we're only paying out about $1,600 per full-time student. So $4,100 of that money is staying here in the district. Okay, so you do the math, that adds up quickly. We've installed kill switches on 18 of the 36 parking lot posts outside, the light posts. Those are saving $344 per pole per year. Cost us $1,400 to put them in. So that well is paying for itself within the first year. We've reduced the number of days we have garbage pickup. We've gone from 3 to 2. And we've eliminated the following positions: high school dean of students, middle school dean of students, high school media specialist, middle school computer study skills. That program is gone for students. Elementary art has been gone this year, although you heard that we are bringing it back for next to make the schedule work. But that means we're going to lose some art electives at the high school for next year. That has to come from somewhere because we didn't hire anybody additional. High school consumer science program's gone for kids. Middle school social studies position last year. High school secretary part-time position. Cafeteria aide position. The yearbook supplemental at the high school. The high school audiovisual. Middle school audiovisual. High school newspaper supplemental. The high school literary magazine, gone. Chess club supplemental. Middle school newspaper is gone. Middle school student council is gone. We've eliminated assistant coaching positions in both varsity football and varsity boys basketball. As you saw here, we're going to be eliminating for next year We will be eliminating a core teacher at the elementary level, a core teacher at the middle school level. We'll be eliminating the middle school, elementary, media center aide position. And we're going to have the change with the resource tutors, and we're not sure how many title tutors. That's the other piece of this. With that change, we're now going to be able to bring back some title tutors, but until that money allocates in July, we don't know how many. Okay, so we probably won't lose all 8. Maybe we'll be able to bring all them back, maybe we won't. We just have to see how the money allocates and what we're able to do with that. That won't be known until July. So there's a very real need here. The reason that these numbers have changed is because we're working as hard as we possibly can to be able to help our bottom line and cut these things. And I've told you before, with all of this, that it feels like what I've done for 2 years is come to you with, in most cases, 2 bad choices, and I'm recommending to you which one is the least impactful in a negative way to kids. So we've gone through a lot of things. I would argue that just about everything that's on that list that I read to you, there was a legitimate student-centered reason to have those. And now that they're gone, we're feeling the effects of that. There's larger class sizes, like you heard earlier, less support for students who are struggling, and we're trying to adjust to do that, but ultimately, people can only do so much. You can only ask so much of one person to do as a teacher when your class sizes keep getting larger and larger, and you have less and less resources to be able to pull from. At some point, people become saturated. So we need to make sure that people understand the need continues to be there. We've been addressing this, which has helped the problem. How we move forward for here, though, is up to you. So, I think maybe we start with this levy request. We do have something if you decide to take it off in August, like I recommended. We do have a resolution that would need to be passed tonight. It has to come off 70 days prior to the election in order to do that. So tonight would be our opportunity for that. For the November election, something would have to be in prior to, I believe it's August 3rd, so that would give time in the month of July, once the number's finalized, to make some informed decisions about what the right amount is to go back for. Last thing I will say before we turn it over to you for discussion, we did call the Board of Elections. We've heard crazy dollar amounts in the community with how much a special election costs you. We've heard upwards of 30 grand. And just to clarify here, while the Board of Elections does not know the actual cost until after an election is over with, they can go back to May of last year when we ran the election in May. We were the only issue that was on in our area. That election cost us approximately $8,800. And so they're telling us that the expense for August, while they can't guarantee it, should be very similar. So for what it's worth, the people that are saying $30,000, that we're being told that that's nowhere near truthful. You're looking at closer to $8,800 to run August. So with all that being said, turn the levy part over to you for comments, questions.
I think we pulled off the special election, and then we get the numbers, and we usually have to have a special meeting to close out anyhow, we could probably have those numbers ready then, and pass the first resolution then, and then pass the second resolution
If the state has their numbers by the time they have a
by the
special
time we
meeting.
have a regular meeting. Then we would be able to, we wouldn't even have to have that special meeting in July to do it. But I just think that way, maybe we can come back with some number, 5, 6, 4, whatever. We can come back with, the idea has always been just to try to get by the next couple of years. And, and I think that based on what we see, we can probably, hopefully we can do something a little less than the 7.95 that we're trying to. And maybe the numbers will come back to where we lost a lot of yes votes when we went to 7.95, maybe we'll get a lot of those yes votes back.
Other thoughts, comments? Okay, anybody have a different thought?
You know, I think if we can work with people, maybe we can get something passed here, so if we can lower it, maybe get a little.
Okay, then let's go back here. I don't know if there needs to be discussion, but I'll throw it out there in case there's any opinion on doing something different with this as it stands for next school year in light of what we now know.
If we can decrease it, I would like to see it go down. I'm not saying eliminate it completely, but, you know, for what we're making, $33,000, we figured it, $33,000 in the grand scheme of things in our budget is not a whole lot of money, but saving these families $100 is a really big deal. So, I mean, it's not Christmas in May here for Waterloo, but we're a little bit better position, maybe we can help out with that as well. I'm all for at least discussing it and dropping it.
Well, see, actually, if you look, we budgeted 54,000
Right.
when we, based on previous estimates. In real life, what we've seen that it generates is $40,700.
Right.
So the reason, if we leave it at three, like what we've got, what it is currently, you know, we're going to generate some $87,500 in revenue.
We're actually, just to clarify here, that additional increase there is the 40,709. We originally budgeted 54,280. Okay, when we got through the first year cycle, November of 10 through October of 11, the actual collection number was somewhere right between 46 and 47,000. So we were between $7,000 and $8,000 less than what we projected. But we did not go back into the forecast and change that because we adjusted for that in this new number here. So that 40,709 plus the 54,280, then this reduction factor from the cap.
Right,
That makes sense.
But I guess what I'm saying is that the increased revenue on the budget is 33,
Yes.
but in real life, the increase is more than that. Because
Yes.
we're offsetting the
Yes.
we
The
overestimated.
increase, if we didn't
previously.
have that, the increase would be somewhere around 41,000. It's just coincidence that happens to.
But that's based on a certain number of students too.
This is a 30% reduction
Right.
factor from the current year. That's what's calculated into that bottom line.
And we're seeing numbers dropping already.
Well, I mean, my personal thoughts are we appreciate everybody that's worked with us on getting the numbers where they are. But if we can reduce it by, not just reduce it by a little bit, how about, you know, try and give to the families a little bit of something, maybe they'll help us out too in November. So I don't know. Leave the cap where it's at and put it maybe double it instead of triple it. So.
Yeah, I would like to see it reduced. I think that would help the numbers in November by saving the families the money in the sports or the whole thing, and then, you know, help us out with the levy. But, you know, I also think we should revisit this again after all the numbers are in July.
Well, I think too is, I think more and more people, it's been slow going, but I think more and more people are realizing that we have cut everywhere we can, we're doing everything we can, and I think slowly they're getting that. And so they're gonna see that even if we would reduce it a little bit, if it doesn't pass in November, next year it's gonna go back to that. So, I mean, you know, we gotta,
Next year in January or next year in start of the new school year?
next year, whenever this is school year.
We can revisit this after we get some numbers from Todd, right?
Yeah, there's no decision that has to be made on this. I mean, as it stands right now, these rates are set as they're listed there for next school year. there's no, there's no decision. They don't pay until their first practice, which will be,
Beginning of August.
yeah. So there's no reason, so, this can just be something that gets tabled for now and can be revisited if need be, future down the road. Something to think about that.
Do you want to talk to me?
I think we need to revisit it after we get the numbers down. I would like to say that we could do a reduction. The feedback that I've heard throughout the community, people are getting very choosy with their kids as to what sports and activities they play because it's not financially possible, especially with multiple children, to have them into every sport or give them every opportunity. I think if we did a reduction, it might ease the stress on the family. It would be a good opportunity for us to feel and address their financial issues and hopefully open up some minds to what our long-term objectives are, is to provide these at a reasonable price. But we do have, I don't want to kick the can down the road either. So I think we have serious financial needs that we need to address. But if we can, rather than triple, which is such a drastic hardship on those families, if we can at least ease that somewhat. So I would suggest that we table it for the time being until we see something come out of our end of the year and maybe address our levy requests.
That sounds good.
Okay, very good. All right. That's all I have. Any other questions on any of this stuff here? A lot.
Thank you.
Yeah, that's all. That's all. Just that few minutes.
Okay, treasurer's report?
The only thing I want to mention is, draw your attention to, there's an addendum to the agenda tonight. The addendum, superintendent's business, letters K through P on the addendum, and treasurer's business, letter G on the addendum. Those will fall under the consent agenda, which is item number 11.
Okay. And then we want to do to reverse the resolution.
When we get to new business, we'll do
it under new
the
business.
recall of those teachers and then the resolution for the August.
Okay, thanks, Bob. Diane?
Maplewood Career Center scheduled their graduation for May 31st at Kent State University. Not a whole lot went on at last meeting, and I will have the minutes for the last meeting of our next board meeting. That's all I have.
Thank you. Ken, you have anything under legislative?
Legislatively, it seems like I've been waiting on State Bill 316 to come to a vote. I actually checked it right before the meeting today, and I didn't hear anything definite, but Andy brought me some updated information. Yesterday, the Senate Education Committee made significant changes to SB 316. The senators plan to delay the changes to the state report cards to the year 2013. This will allow districts the opportunity to educate the communities on the new Common Core standards and changes to the district report card system without changing the rules at the end of the school year and holding districts accountable for a new system that isn't even in place yet. In addition, the Senate decided to delay the third grade reading guarantee changes for a year and added a $13 million appropriation for the fiscal year 2013 to create a reading intervention grant for the third grade reading guarantee. With politics, there's a lot of talk. It takes a long time to get to a resolution. I'm glad they aren't paid by decision, or they would be, they would have second jobs. But we see that we are getting some activity there, and it's long overdue. And I'll keep you apprised of the different changes as we go through the House resolutions also.
Okay. Thank you. Anybody else have anything under new other business?
Graduation. Coming up. May, May,
27.
It says Sunday.
just because that's the first time I ever remember it being, well, Memorial Day is the next day, right?
Yeah, no, we did it a couple years ago.
Really?
Yeah, a couple years ago, it was on Memorial Day weekend.
Just, I don't remember it ever being on Memorial Day weekend.
Yeah, I think it was John's year. You were probably in the fall day.
Yeah, well,
I think it was 2 years ago. I think it was 2 years ago.
We did look back at that last year. I had that question when we were doing the calendar, and there was a year not too far.
Yeah, I was thinking it was either 2 or 3 years ago that we did have that too.
I think it may actually fall that way next year too.
yeah, that's fine. That's just so everybody's familiar.
Don't make plans for Memorial Day weekend to go out there.
Yeah, well, you can, but if you do, you'll miss graduation.
Are we,
Anything else?
No,
Speaking of graduation, you are going to get the board award out,
yes.
so I need to make sure, I gotta make a note. Make sure Nicole knows that for the program. And then, I had a couple, just quick things. I had a couple people mention updating the websites, and I was hoping that, they were still here, but, we just need to make sure those websites are updated. Like, one of the classes, whether it was the freshman class or the sophomore, yeah, I don't know which class it was, but the people get on there and they like this, so just something that, and I should have mentioned it before, I had it written on my notes, and that's how I remember. So, little things like that, make sure that they update that stuff. I know there's, as far as, there's a lot going on with that supplemental, but a lot of times it's downtime, so maybe that's when you can do that. But, and then the other thing was, I attended a Leadership of Portage County roundtable discussion. They sponsor, and we're going to look more into this, but they sponsor, I think 2 kids from each school district in Portage County and different adults in the area. But there's a fee to be in it. So what they do is every year they have a class. They have like this year's class of 2012. So what they do is it's students and adults in the community. It can be treasurers, superintendents, it can be sheriff's department, it can be local business owners, and then students. And what they do is they go through the year and they discuss things that improve Portage County and to make the leadership better. And the 5 things they came up with this year that they thought were lacking in Portage County that they want to work on. And these are the things we sat around a round table. They put like 1 board member, 1 sheriff's person, they put different people at each table, and then we would have these discussions. The first one was educating all citizens, infant to adult, to build a qualified workforce. The second was increasing collaboration among public and private agencies, which, we don't have a lot of that here at Waterloo because we don't really have, we don't have businesses. We only have a few businesses in the area, and we don't really have any too much of the governing body here, but improving county infrastructure, decreasing substance abuse, and finalizing a county-wide strategic plan. So one of the things that came out of it was, as far as educating the kids in drug use and where, even if they might just think that they're buying like 1 or 2 pills from somebody. Well, where that money leads back to is amazing. I mean, we're this big you know, as far as the sheriff's department is concerned, they're saying it goes back to this person, ends up being part of organized crime. So you don't think that when you're sitting in Atwater or Randolph, you don't think there's any of that going on. But apparently that's where all this leads back to. So it's something that at some point it'd be interesting to have the sheriff's department come in and talk. I don't know how we would do that. I mean, maybe that could be something they do during that time. But it was very interesting. It was really interesting. And they spend the whole year doing this, the whole school year they spend doing this, and then they graduate and they get their certificates. And I have the people that are involved up here if anybody wants to see that. But it was, like I said, it was very interesting, and they're always looking for people to join. They, you know, they need sponsors for that, and it was very interesting. And they held that last week, I guess it was.
Is that the one that wants 2 students from each school? And, yeah, because I know a couple of years ago, an alumni from Waterloo sponsored 2 students.
I think it's like $700 or $750
Sponsored.
per student.
Yeah, she sponsored 2 students, I remember that as well. Wow, like 5 years ago.
Has it been that long ago? Because I wasn't
We
sure.
don't have anybody currently in it, and it
Right.
doesn't sound like we have in the last few years.
Yeah, and I don't think we have any adults in the area in it either, and I wonder whether, you know, how, I don't know how they get their word out to the business people in the area, but, you know, someone who is a business person in Randolph or Atwater that might be interested in something like that. It was really interesting. It's great to get involved in the groups that are all involved in it, so it was great, so just wanted to make a note of that. All right, does anybody else have anything, other business?
So we're going to do these 2 resolutions in here.
Okay.
So the first one under the new business is to recommend to recall the following teachers for the 2012-2013 school year. Brenna Radish, full-time kindergarten. Kim Shondrick, full-time first grade. Adam Mendenhall, full-time high school music.
Okay, can I have a motion to recall the following teachers 2012, for the 2012-2013 school year? Brenna Radish, Kim Shondrick, and Adam Mendenhall. Second?
I'll second.
Any questions or comments? Roll call?
Musatara?
Yes.
Whittlesey?
Yes.
Gump?
Yes,
Fletcher?
Yes.
Jones?
Yes.
motion passes.
Okay, the second one is going to be for the repeal here of August issue. So we have the lengthy resolution here. Just going to do a summary of this. So I'm going to recommend the resolution repealing resolutions numbers 1230 and 1232, and to remove, allowing to remove the question from the August 7th, 2012 ballot. That sound okay, Doug?
Okay, can I have a motion to accept the resolution repealing Resolution 1230 and 1232, allowing to remove the question on the August ballot?
So moved.
Second?
No, sir.
Any questions or comments? Roll call?
Musatara?
Yes.
Whittlesey?
Yes.
Gump?
Yes,
Fletcher?
Yes.
Jones?
Yes.
motion passes.
Okay, now we move into the consent agenda. And so I'll remind you here, that Todd had shared earlier, the addendum items we're going to include into the vote here on the consent. So that includes adding items K through P under the superintendent's business, and item G under the treasurer's business. And before we vote on that, I just wanted to make a couple of comments on a few of these issues. The first one is item C under superintendent. This bus driver position that Lee Kackner is being recommended here for tonight was left open by the resignation of Nancy back in March 8th. We've had some internal bumping that took place, but up until this point, we haven't been able to find a regular driver to fill the open route. Under E, tonight we brought forth the athletic director, assistant athletic director, and the head varsity coaches. Next month, we'll bring back the rest of supplementals as we have them for other programs in the district, assistant coaches as they stand. I will say I inadvertently left Mike Bowley for football off. He's on the addendum, as is the volleyball coach, Kevin Canterbury. Under F, the Viking Digital Academy teacher payments. We currently, when I say that we 5723 and 1600 of it roughly goes out for a student that's in that digital academy. The majority of that is for a teacher per course. We pay either to our own teacher here that helps out or to ACE, the company we partner with, 200 for a full year class and 100 for a semester class to the teacher. If a student withdraws within the first 30 days, the payment's prorated, which is why you'll see some odd amounts on a couple of the numbers there. Special education teachers get paid 200 per student to monitor IEP compliance. And that's what Kim Steele is there on that list. The policies, there's 3 of them on there tonight. And the promotion, 6.15, promotion, placement, retention. There's just a few brief changes that Brett Minnie put in there with some stuff that he had to update. 6.03, academic acceleration, early entrance, kindergarten and early high school graduation. That's a change that we made based on our current one. We worked with Brett Minnie, the attorney, to get that changed. We spent a good deal of time this year at the department chair level focusing on acceleration and how we could utilize our campus better to do that with students. We wanted to add in there, the current policy states that parents are the only ones that can remove a kid during the trial period. We wanted it to be able to have the school remove a kid too in consultation with parents if we see issues. And then 6.101, part-time students. We do not have a policy in place that defines what a part-time student in Waterloo is. I can tell you that the past practice, at least for the last 2 years that I've been here, has been that if a student is taking one class here, they're considered a part-time student. And then as long as they meet the requirements laid out for extracurriculars, they're able to participate. So there's different requirements depending on if it's an OHSAA sport or other things. So we needed OHSAA references district policies and what part-time students are. So I had asked Brent Minnie about it. Brent agreed that we needed a policy. So I had him draft up a policy that matched our practice. Right?
I'm not sure I'm reading this right under that part-time student. It says part-time students' attendance is defined as being enrolled in the district for a maximum of 1 academic course.
Correct.
Should that be a minimum of 1 academic course?
I guess,
It's second paragraph, first, second paragraph.
minimum would be.
Should be minimum?
Yes.
Okay, I wasn't sure.
I didn't catch that.
I apologize, I meant to call you about that. and I just-
Why don't we make that note on that change? We'll get that changed to read minimum before we put it up on the website. The grading and recognition system and the service recognition we talked about earlier. Lunch prices, you'll see that those are going up a nickel, not because we necessarily need to. It actually makes money each year. We're required to by Section 205 of the 2010 Child Nutrition Reauthorization Act, Equity in School Lunch Pricing. So they have a certain number you have to be at, which is $2.51 this year. And if you're not there, which we're not, then we have to move by, this year it was 3.14% minimum up, rounded to the closest nickel. So that's where the 5 cents comes in. It actually was like 7 some odd cents, so we rounded down to the 5 cent increase. The Medicaid review under Todd's section, that is something that the state of Ohio now requires when you're getting Medicaid reimbursement. So we've projected in there a pretty sizable amount. The first year's been a little slow coming in. We projected $50,000 a year. We brought in a little over 20,000. kept a little over 14,000 when we pay out to the company that's working with us. But we anticipate that, according to our consultant, that will continue to pick up and get to that number that we expect. And then the gas program, we've been shopping around trying to find better rates. Todd found the OSC program. We looked at a few different ones. This OSC program compared to our last 6 months historical data looks like it will save the district 10% with locking in with their rates where we currently are. And then a couple of things on the addendum items. Wanted to just note that we are, item N, Tim Fox being hired as head mechanic. That is the same Tim Fox that used to be our transportation, building and grounds supervisor. That is because we had a resignation that took place. At our special meeting last month, you accepted the resignation of Brian Karras. So we went through a process, and Tim Fox, we're happy to announce, will be coming back and joining us as head mechanic starting May 24th. And then lastly, item P, that's the MOU that we have to do to allow us to do the dual credit with Stark State that I talked about earlier with Katie Kane's computer classes. That's not every one of those items, but that's most. Are there any questions on any of the others? Okay. So then I would recommend to accept the consent agenda, superintendent's business A through P, treasurer's business A through G.
Make a motion.
I have
I have
a
to
motion to
go
accept the consent agenda.
to the bathroom. I've been sitting here for 3 hours. It's good.
Okay, can I have a second? Okay, any questions or comments? I have just one quick one. I am thrilled to have Tim Fox back. I was really upset when he left, and I am thrilled that he's back. His work ethic is phenomenal, so I'm glad to have him back in the district. So, any other questions or comments? Roll call?
Mushatari? Yes. Whittlesey?
Yes.
Dump?
Yes.
Fletcher?
Yes.
Jones?
Yes.
Motion passes. Okay, I have a motion for adjournment.
Let me make that one too.
And I'll second.
Okay. That meeting is adjourned.
Thank you.
At 10. No, it's.
We had more good stuff.